Hello, Bad Tempered Badger here, following up with Alpha 4 in the aftermath of the Godless Cranium video. So, how are you doing today?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I woke up to messages that apparently you went too easy on me, and apparently I'm a liar, and I'm cherry picking. So, I don't know.
Well, we better get that sorted out, haven't we?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well,
so,
I
gotta stop you right here, man.
Oh yeah.
I need some answers now from my atheist friends. Are you secretly a Christian? Are you friends with Christians secretly? Do you happen to have Catholic friends that you talk to? I'm worried about this. I think there's some corruption there.
Well, you see, I should say no. I never fraternize with the enemy, but I do actually have one or two friends who might have crosses on little trains under their shirts. You never know.
No.
You never know.
You're gonna have to change your channel then.
Oh dear, it's terrible.
Atheist, I'm sorry.
I'll have to talk about politics. Oh no, should do that. Anyway, right. So about this video that you did, when was this video?
This was in January when I was first changing over my channel from martial arts, so I did not know what I was doing yet. And it was bad. It was a bad video.
Yeah. Now I was going to ask you about this video. Have you ever heard of editing?
It's a fun concept, but it's one that I'm not comfortable with yet. I feel that, like evolution, there are just little gaps missing, and you can't prove it really exists.
Oh, well, you see, little gaps missing are kind of what it's all about, actually. What you do is, you take the bit where you're there going, yeah, this question, I think, and you get rid of it, so that your 5-minute point that you're trying to make doesn't take 20 minutes.
But does the Pope allow for editing? That's what I got to know. I mean, he's very infallible in all that he says.
Well, you'd have to ask him. He's the guy with the hat.
Oh, okay. So I hear you have some follow-ups for me.
Oh, I certainly do. Right. Okay. Number one. You mentioned in your video about religion. You say it's just about serving God.
All religions across the board are only about serving God. In fact, the meaning of life, according to most religions, this is not according to me. This is not my meaning of life, just to be clear. But the meaning of life is to serve God and obedience to God. That's across the board, from everything from whether you're talking about Islam, whether you're talking about the Abrahamic faiths like Judaism and Christianity. I'm trying to think of other ones like Zoroastrianism. Your whole purpose, whether you're talking about pagan religions like serving Zeus or Venus, your whole purpose is to serve your God. That's the point of those religions. The point is not all the political stuff. I know that Cranium hit on that, but that's not exactly the point of religion. That's kind of like an after effect or a way of serving, is to have everyone conform to this one idea.
So you're saying the religion itself is not about how necessarily to live your life. It's about, here's God, serve God, worship God. It's all about God.
That's kind of the answer there.
Right. You mentioned in your video, in the original, about how religion has changed over time, and it's based on, some of it's based on these ancient beliefs, and then those beliefs have been corrected and changed, and there were rituals, and then those rituals were replaced with new ones, and so on and so forth.
Yes, I think I bored a lot of people with that part of the answer.
It was a little bit lengthy, I will say that. Possibly editing in that part. But I would argue, why stop there? You've discounted all this previous stuff. It doesn't work. It's no good. This is what we believe now. Why not go a little bit further and dispense with religion entirely?
Well, we have calculus. Are we going to get rid of algebra? We have algebra. Are we going to get rid of basic mathematics? These are evolutions. There are roots to these things. I actually think, me personally, this is not a religious or a Catholic point of view, this is my point of view, which seems to be where I get in trouble the most anyway, is that it's a shame that a lot of those older religions are dead religions. I think that there should be some root and some connection to those older religions, so that way we can remember what it is our religions are arguing against. because then we get confused, especially some of the atheists I've noted, get confused and they think that atheism and Catholicism are new. None of these things are new. I have books dating back millennia that argue on both sides of these issues. These are not new issues. None of these are new issues.
So would you look at it in the same way as the roots of words in a language?
In a way, yes, most definitely.
So
how the original root word can change the meaning and understanding of the modern word.
Yeah.
But if you don't have that context, that doesn't mean you can't use the word.
No, you understand the current use. You don't necessarily understand how it got to that current use. So I would argue, in that case, that the roots of the words are interesting, and they're very they're useful to know, and they're good to look at, and it gives you a greater understanding of how language works. But you don't need them to use language in the modern sense. So you could look at religion the same way. You could look at it and say, this is the history of our society, the history of our culture, the history of our species. Well, your species, I'm a badger. But you could look at it that way and then say, but we've kind of got past that now. We're at a stage now where those things were useful to us in the past, and we can see how we got to where we are now, and it's useful for the future to know that, but we don't need to keep going back to it for our everyday lives.
Well, I have two counters for that, and both of them are directly related to me. One is based off martial arts, and one is based on who I am as an individual. I'm dyslexic, and everything that I say, do, or think is in context. On my IQ exams and tests and all that kind of stuff that you get when you get diagnosed with dyslexia, I get perfect scores in context. It's called context clues, but it has a different word on the test. And what these words are is that basically the way that my brain works is that I have to gather all the contextual information, and that's how I decide what my reality is. For other people who don't have my issues, who don't have a problem with seeing the world literally backwards, they don't need that extra help. They don't need to. They don't need to know the context of a word to be able to spell the word. But for me to remember how a word is spelled, I can't go based off the letters because my eyes don't see the letters the way that everybody else does. So I need to know the deeper, longer meaning for me to remember how to put the words and letters in complete order. And to go to martial arts, which is the same answer, is that in martial arts you have an expression that says always go back to the fundamentals. So whenever I'm training for a big fight, whenever I'm training a client, even a good client, for a big event, we don't start off by going off the very last move we learned. We go all the way back to the beginning and we redo the fundamentals until those are as sharp as possible. So that's the way I view religion. I don't think everybody has to view religion that way, but for someone like me and for someone who believes in God, I think those are that is the correct way to view religion for someone who is a believer. If you're an atheist, I don't see any reason why you'd have to do that work other than the fact that you might want to talk to someone like me.
Well, let me put it to you. Let me put it to you this way then. From a martial arts perspective, I can understand that, because as a martial artist, you have to understand the basics of movement before you can do the complexities. In fact, one of my martial arts instructors referred to actually hitting your opponent as the cherry on the cake of the martial arts as a whole. The actual, the flour and eggs and ingredients of that cake would be balance, position, footwork, all the basics of movement. But when it comes to religion, I would argue that it's a little bit different, because it is perfectly possible to walk down the street, have a conversation, live your life without religion, without having any concept of a god or the supernatural or anything like that. It's perfectly possible to do it without that, so why would you go back to that as the basics? Right, so moving on from that, a lot of the comments on these videos have said that you are cherry-picking things and being intellectually dishonest, misrepresenting your opinion and your position. What do you say to that?
Well, there's a few bad words I could say to that, but I actually have a more easy comment. This is called the Catechism.
Uh-huh.
This is called a Bible for those who've never seen one. But this isn't just any Bible, a Bible. This isn't just any Bible. This has commentary, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And so in this commentary, it explains exactly what is literal and what is figurative, or should I say metaphorical. Mm-hmm. Now, wait. I know that's a Catholic thing. This is a Catholic thing. So maybe I'm just picking from my religion, right? Mm-hmm. Wrong. This is for Hebrews, okay? This is done by rabbis, not Catholics. They don't believe in Jesus Christ. Guess what? This says the same stuff is figurative, metaphorical, allegorical, parable. What's parable and metaphorical here is parable, metaphorical, and allegorical here is what this says is metaphorical, clerical, blah, 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 blah. All those words.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Same thing, all three. The only Bible that I own, and I'm about to own another one, but the only Bible that takes this stuff literal is an evangelical Bible, and that is called the Christian Study Bible. That's the only Bible I have where the commentary, the notes, the study portion of the Bible, the extra material, that's the only stuff where it takes it literal. Is that one Bible? One out of many that I own. Catholicism takes most of these things as metaphor and analogy. Yes, there are stuff we take literal, and we can get into that whenever we have our debate, which I hope we have soon. I am grateful for this follow-up, but that is not what the entire Bible is. The entire Bible has sections, and by the way, you don't even need a study Bible for this part. It has sections that say history. History, see? History. That's where it says history. These over here, it says prophecy. Okay? Poetry, songs, revelations, gospels. These are all different genres. Not every genre is literal.
I would say to that, if you're going to argue with someone and you're going to oppose someone's point of view, make sure you are actually opposing their point of view and that you understand what their point of view is. Don't oppose what you think their point of view is based on the crazy people you've spoken to before.
Well, would that be directed toward me or toward anybody who's watching?
That's just anybody. Like, the entire point the entire point of my last video with you was so that I can understand what your position is before I try to argue against it. There's no point me arguing, well, how did they fit the dinosaurs on Noah's Ark? If the person I'm arguing with doesn't believe Noah's Ark is a literal story. So, for example, one of the things that was mentioned in the comments on my interview was, why didn't I tear this guy a new one? Why didn't I oppose him more strongly? How am I supposed to do that if I don't understand what he thinks? Mm-hmm. Speaking of Godless Craniums video, make sure you read the question.
I did read the question, and I did eventually get to the exact question that he had. I'm going to say very short, what I should have said at the opening of my video of the other one, which is my argument was you cannot, the question was not a great question because neither side will accept the other's answer. Specifically, because the things that religion has that atheism or secular thinking cannot replace are understandings of things that atheists and skeptics don't believe exist. If you don't believe exist, how can I explain to you that without religion, you won't have an understanding of them? It's a bad question in that exact way, which is how I should have opened my video, and I didn't.
I would say you should have opened your video about halfway through the video when you got to the point.
Agreed.
Now I'm going to answer that question with an answer from the comments. I'd like to answer with a comment by TJump18. What beneficial aspects of religion can't be replaced by secular means? Without religion, we would not have had Monty Python and the Life of Brian. Game over, atheists. I think that's a perfect comment. Thanks for watching, everyone.